Hello friends, this is Chandrakant from Mac Technologies. Welcome to Top Brass. As usual, our guest Mr. Naval joins us from UK. Good morning, Naval.
Very good morning, CK. Another beautiful sunny morning in the UK, and I know it's hot in India. So let's have a hot program today, shall we?
Certainly, Naval, it is quite hot, and I have a very hot news to share with you, which is related to the world which is going to shape up in near future. Yesterday, I got an email from Zoom because my company and myself, we are heavy users of Zoom. They are migrating to a new platform, and they are asking all the users to migrate to the new platform. And why they are doing so? Because cybersecurity has become a big issue, and from May 30th onwards, the old version will not be usable. They are forcing every user to migrate to the new platform, which will allow all sessions of Zoom to be encrypted. So it's a big deal. It's a huge change in the Zoom platform, and I think Zoom is gaining a lot of grounds, and that's why they're changing.
That's absolutely fantastic news. And the good thing is you got an email from them. So this is about raising your awareness, customer expectations, giving you good reasons why it's happening. So they're continuing the customer journey. Now, this isn't rocket science, is it? But how did that make you feel when you got that email?
Well, as a tech user, we always keep evaluating different softwares, whatever it is. We are never satisfied with one. Say if we are using Zoom right now, we will like to know, hey, what's happening in Hangout? What are the new features? So we keep trying them. So I think Zoom has done a remarkable thing by moving up early in the value chain, because Hangout has to still come up to, even though they are backed by Google, but they are still having a lot of lack of features as compared to Zoom. And Zoom is now moving up the value chain. They are not only providing features, they are also providing security. So I think it's great.
It's really good because you're expressing the feelings that you got as a customer, using, let's face it, a new platform. This is meteoric rise in the digital world, almost like the dot-coms of the early noughties that you and I can recall that from good news and bad news, I suppose. But the interesting thing is, they've not only told you the what, the how, but the why. And I'm constantly getting asked lots of questions. I mean, certainly since we've been doing these lockdown discussions, trying to help and advise people of how to come out of lockdown, do some preparation, etc., etc. But a lot of people are still in this how. How can I do this? And they're asking me. I mean, I get it on LinkedIn, I get it on Twitter. So how can I do that? Well, frankly, I don't know you. I have no idea about your business, what you do, what you've done, how you've done it, but more importantly, why you're doing it. So my constant response to them is the how can be quite easy once you know who you are. But ask the more difficult question, and it is a difficult question. Simon Sinek talks about the why. It's not a new concept. This is as old as the hills, frankly. Before I was born, before you were born, before our ancestors were born. Always ask the question, why? It's not an easy question. And when you and I first met, I asked you, why do you do what you do? And remember that time?
Yes, Naval. In fact, let me share my experience. If you ask this question, why, I'm telling you, Naval, 90% of the people don't know why they are doing it. They just want to ask you a question, how, but they don't know why. Because, they have seen another 10 people doing it. So that is why they don't have answer to why. But they want to know how the other 10 are doing it so that I can copy. So this is really what is going on.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I put an article out on LinkedIn yesterday, which to me was a bit of "I told you so." You know, it was an insight into how some of the great organisations in this world have become great. And if you read the article, now go to LinkedIn. I listed it from somebody else. I didn't write the article. I thought it was very well written because it was an insight into some large organisation. But it was nothing to do with the organisation. It was all to do with one person that happened to be the chief exec. So they're in the right place, but they're working with fundamentally the same team that was there the day before they took the role on. So what is it about this one person that can make a huge ripple effect all the way down the organisation and make it into a global organisation? And if you start to look around the world, I mean, we all remember Steve Jobs, you know, turned around, you know, quit or was sacked from Apple, depending which way you want to read the story, and then went back a few years later and he's their saviour. And we all hear about that one person. Well, of course, it's never down to one person, but one person sets that vision and mission. And that one person, if you're listening, is you. You're that person. You're the person that sets the why. And once you've got the why, the how and the what become easy, because then it's very personal and it's about what you do and why you do it. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. In fact, it makes a lot of sense. But in fact, I want to ask you something. You know, in my circle, in my connections, a lot of people ask how. Like, I'm going back to the same old question, and they don't know the answer of why, but they still want to do the how thing. I think you have to tell us from your wisdom how important it is to be, original in whatever we do. Like you mentioned Steve Jobs, he thought about things which nobody else thought. You know, iPhone, iTunes, iPad, all his baby, and including the Mac operating system. So he changed the world basically. So I think from your wisdom, please tell us what is the importance of being honest and, original.
Being original is what we are. You and I have one item or one personality trait, one element that is absolutely consistent. And it's not the fact that we're both wearing striped shirts or we both got glasses on, okay? Or smiling. We're men. And guess what? There are women. So try as hard as we ever want to. We're men. We think like men. Women think like women. If you can bring the two together, it's brilliant. Now that might sound a bit of a shift from the question you asked, but in many years ago, when they started to write business plans, because it's only relatively new, really, that people have started to get into business plans. Previously, in the sort of 1940s and 50s, it was a handshake. That sounds like a good idea. Yes, let's do it. You know, typically that's what would happen. So business plans are probably a 1970s, 80s. I mean, the corporates started a bit earlier, but let's say small businesses, it's sort of an 80s issue. And in those business plans, there would always be, what's your mission? Right. Now today, we might call that purpose. Or we also might call it the why. So if you can define, and even in charities, you know, we have the mission statement for setting up a charity, a registered charity, is really incredibly important. Because if that mission statement is not succinct and precise, you do not get charity status. So we know actually the mission is absolutely vitally important. The why. And people very quickly rush over it because the how and the what is more exciting. But I've got news for everybody. If you don't know what the mission is, however exciting the how and the what can be, it's far more exciting when you're driven by the mission. And this is what we say in MindFit. There are 4 elements, if you can recall: how we think, how we feel, how we're socially connected. But then forget those 3. It's what drives us. The mission. What is our purpose? And we've known this for many, many years. You know, this is not rocket science. It's not new. It's just the question of, it might be new to you. So yeah, the how and the what are exciting. Anyone can write down a business plan of, oh, we're going to market this. We're going to put 1 million rupees into this. We're going to do this. This is what we expect here. That's tactics. That's objectives. That's KPIs. But it's the why at the center. Why are you doing it? Once you get that why, the rest is plain sailing. Well, put it this way, it's a lot easier, happens a lot faster, and it's far more exciting. And as you see, my answer is quite simple. We've done it this way for years. Why have we drifted away from what is the fundamental part of being a human or running a business? Anyone can be a me too out there. Just got to copy what someone else does. And the interesting thing is, it's very unlikely you'll get the same result they get, because you're not driven by it. Shall I give you would you like to know a classic example of where this really works really well around the globe?
Yes, why not? I'd like to hear from you.
Well, you have you heard of white labeling?
Oh yeah, it's an abused word.
And in the context of white labeling, it's someone else has done all the work and all you're doing is putting your brand on top of it.
You know, all the when we go and discuss about as a product company and say that, hey, we have got this new software, we want to sell it. The other guy will say, hey, why don't you white label to me? I will sell it as my own brand. So, you know, it looks like we have done all the hard work, and the person who is actually acquiring that technology is just putting his logo on top of it and selling it further. So, you know, white labeling happened mostly very successfully done by the TV and refrigerator companies, because I think that is an area which is quite successful. There could be others also, like cars. There are many cars. There are mobile phones, some of them in Latin America. But I think it's thoroughly abused when it comes to software.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I only mentioned white labeling is because I've thrown a red herring in immediately. Because it's not actually about white labeling, because it's about franchising. So you've heard of franchising.
Right.
And the point about franchising is that someone has done exactly what they've done in the white label arena. They've ironed out all the creases. They've done all the back office stuff. They've created a process that they're now confident that if anyone comes into and buys the franchise, they will get a result. That's fair to say, isn't it? That's what franchising is all about. Someone else has done all the work, and as long as you follow the process, you'll get the result. Correct?
That's right. Pizza Hut, McDonald's, these are very successful franchises, global franchises.
Brilliant. And you've mentioned some of the incredibly successful franchises, and people queue up to buy those franchises, don't they?
Yeah. So what they have to do is bring the real estate, bring the initial investment, and that's it. They have to follow the accounting principles. They have to follow manufacturing principles. They have to follow sales principles. It is all given in a Bible, which they have to follow.
And in many respects, that Bible, as you call it, works every time.
It works every time. It's like a book. Follow the book.
Follow the book, because it works every time. Now, the interesting thing is, some have failed. Not many, but some have failed. Because the person that bought the franchise wasn't a process person. They were a Steve Jobs. They were an entrepreneur. They basically said, I can do better than that. Rip the book up and throw it out the door. And the thing is, most entrepreneurs running a small business think that way. But think of what a franchise does. A franchise not only provides the what and the how, but it also gives you an incredibly strong why. If you are buying into that why, you will make a huge success because they've given you the what and the how. They've given it to you. It's cost a lot of money in some respects, but there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of franchises around the world. And, you know, in old days, pre-COVID, when we had exhibitions, there would be franchise exhibitions where franchisors would say, come and buy into our franchise. It will cost you $5,000. It will cost you $200,000. You know, you never used to see McDonald's and Wimpy and whoever else, Kentucky Fried Chicken. You wouldn't see those there because we're into millions of dollars. Right. But the point is, they work because they've provided the why, the how, and the what. So why are they so successful and you're not? Because they know.
Very good piece of advice, Neville. In fact, the way you put it is really, really valuable. I think it is important for all entrepreneurs and CXOs to keep the mission always in the top of their mind. And that is the key question. So now we have come to the end of this session for today. But ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow we are coming out with a new edition of Live Top Brass Spotlight. And tomorrow we are joined by a surprise guest who's well known in the Indian startup fraternity. This guest will join us tomorrow, give us more information about his innovation, his company's product, and what is his plan. So see you tomorrow. Do join us. Bye-bye.